the first time I ever put the camera in like a vertical aspect ratio, the video blew up.
Really, the first time?
I didn't even think that was a cool clip, and then it gets 30 million views.
10 corners in a row. And I'm like, dude, where is this trail? I want to come see it.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, it's just 10 corners on some golf course somewhere. Like, it's not a real trail.
I kind of wanted to quit my job and do something in cycling or in mountain biking.
Do you get into trouble for that?
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, you cannot see on Strava how much time I've descended this week.
Listen up, bike people.
Come on, bike people, put a sensor in your fork.
We'll have this $1,200, $1,300 fork and just absolutely ruin it. Make it worse than like a low-end rhythm fork.
I am a victim of getting lost in the settings.
That is the manager bike.
It's surprising that the drivetrains can hold up to that kind of abuse.
You always forget to charge them. I remember the last time we went riding,
That's true.
you roll up, you're like, I just need 10 minutes. My Axis batteries are dead. And you're just charging them real quick. All right, everyone, welcome back to the Recon MTB podcast. I have a special one here. We have a new guest, Teddy Hayden, viral content creator, entrepreneur. Hello, Teddy.
What's up, Nick? Thanks for having me. Of
course.
Stoked to be down here in the Recon HQ.
Yeah, little journey. You came down from San Francisco. Of course, that's how many people know you is from your viral content, riding street in San Francisco.
Yeah, it's a beautiful drive, so no complaints.
Yeah, not too much traffic.
Not too bad. I think like I got here just after the rush hour, so if I had left like at 6, it would have been terrible. But
Yeah, sounds
A little
good.
tougher.
Cool. So we'll get right into it. I want to hear a lot about your journey in becoming a content creator, maybe your ideas behind that, how they developed, and then maybe how you changed to make better content for people. So maybe you can tell me, what was your original idea? I'm going to ride urban in San Francisco, take cool videos, and see if they go viral.
yeah, to be honest, I would choose a little bit different order. So I was living in San Francisco and my car broke down. And so I was like, I can't drive to go ride the trails. So I just started kind of cruising around the city on the mountain bike and found a bunch of cool stuff to ride. And I'm like, oh, there's actually like, a lot of elevation in San Francisco. There's quite a lot of both urban and kind of like off stairs riding. So like some trails, some parks and stuff like that. And then maybe a year and a half ago, I got a GoPro and I started filming some stuff. And I was like, there's some good GoPro content on like short form social media. So Instagram, TikTok, whatever. But I don't think the formula had like totally been flushed out yet. So I invested some energy to make the camera quality look good. And then just started iterating on, hey, I'm going to ride this stair set, or I'm going to ride this little cliff line at sunset. And I've been making mountain bike videos on Instagram forever. You and I grew up racing together. And as we started racing, you were able to post videos on Instagram, like maybe 2015. So I just post little clips. And it was always kind of fun to put some work out there and have people respond to it. And then I had one POV clip kind of blow up and I'm like, oh, wow, there actually might be something here. So I kind of just leaned into it. I was working a part-time job. And so I had like a lot of free time to, go out when the light was right or go explore. And started making Instagram clips with my GoPro at the time. And the rest is kind of on the Instagram account.
Yeah, and it's not just Instagram clips. I mean, this is picturesque videos at sunset with the San Francisco skyline and the sun's just behind a building, and it's really beautiful. And you're right, San Francisco is all mixed in. I mean, you've got some on your shirt there, huh? It's all mixed in with greenery and forest and hills. I remember, I think I sent you a message responding to one of your videos, and it was the coolest rut track, like 10 corners in a row. And I'm like, dude, where is this trail? I want to come see it.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, it's just 10 corners on some golf course somewhere. Like, it's not a real trail.
I think my content makes it look a bit more consistent than maybe you could get on a ride.
Right.
Like if you go out and ride, you're going to get some cool sections, but it's rare to link up like a 2-minute trail in the city.
Yeah.
So I think it's fun for making content, but if you're trying to be like a good bike rider, especially like race enduro, you got to maybe travel around a bit.
Cool. So tell me, you started with the GoPro and you went out, and what was your vision? You'd go to spots and go, wow, the sunset's going to be great here, or wow, I can gap this and it's going to be good on video, or you just like, I'm going to ride and see what happens?
Yeah, to be honest, it's mostly I'm going to ride and see what happens. I would kind of tool around and film everything. Not the climbing, but like every descent that kind of could be cool. And then started kind of mashing stuff together after the fact. Like I would have a vision for a shot that I wanted to get, and I would go out and like say it's a 30-minute or 30-second shot, and so I would go ride the line. But I'd also film a bunch of B-roll, and then I started like running out of good content, and I started kind of editing together the B-roll, or what I thought to be B-roll, and a couple of those more B-roll clips blew up, and I'm like, oh, like there may be something else to this than I expected.
Right.
Like, so I have like some creative vision, but that doesn't necessarily align with what's going to engage well with people on social media.
I see. And as with any journey in content creation, you're making a lot of good content before it's really recognized. And then there's a point where it just blows up. Like, what was that point for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think, to be honest, the first time I ever put the camera in like a vertical aspect ratio, the video blew up.
Really? The first time?
The first time ever. And I was like, that was partially timing. And I mean, I don't know if anyone's out there filming rectangular videos and cropping them to Instagram, and you're trying to make those blow up, they're probably not going to happen. Like I've seen some ND filter video that like looks like you're going really fast, but ultimately, if you want to post a video on social media, it should look like a phone. So that was like, yeah, kind of the timing was, hey, I came up with a cool scene and then got the GoPro to look right on the phone. And then, yeah, there was some experimentation after that. It's like, obviously, I like to watch people ride normal bike trails. But content like that just doesn't do as well online. So I still do post that just like because I want to post what I want to post. But right. I try to have enough videos in there that people are going to like. And I also try to make content that doesn't just engage with like a mountain bike person, but like with a lay person. So I have no idea what ratio of people who follow me like actually ride bikes. But I don't think it's a super high number. Like there's a lot of people who just live in San Francisco, maybe they have a bike. And part of what I'm trying to do is just kind of display the city in like a different way. So it's like, hey, here's a beautiful shot of the city, maybe an angle you haven't seen, and I'm riding a bike down something that, is kind of sketchy. So
I think that's absolutely the key to unlocking these bigger numbers and viewership and maybe, sponsorships or whatever down the line is making sure you can appeal to an audience that's greater than just within mountain biking. Yeah. And like you said, it could be only a 10% ratio eventually that are really hardcore mountain bikers. And then the rest are just people who know San Francisco, live by that stair set and think, wow, this is cool content. I want to see it.
Yeah. And there was like a little bit of press, like San Francisco has like I would call it like a local newspaper, but they just publish online. It's called the SF Standard. And the sports guy like knew nothing about bikes, but he's like, hey, this content's cool. So he did a piece that kind of like got to a bunch of regular people, and maybe that had some, inbound to. Exactly.
We actually had people in our circle sending it to us and be like, you should contact this guy.
Oh,
like,
cool.
I actually know him.
That's funny. But yeah, ultimately, like, long story short, it was kind of random chance. So right place at the right time, combined with like some energy, I had the freedom to make some videos and put them out there that I thought were cool. And people think they're cool as well. So awesome.
And I think we'll be able to chop this up and add some of the videos behind it so people can really watch.
Sweet.
You have any in particular that are your favorite, or just everything stars align for you there?
No, there's definitely some that I like that maybe I didn't do as well on social media, but I think that's mostly appealing to me as a bike rider. Because there's a couple videos up there that like did crazy numbers randomly. Like there's one of me riding down Lombard Street on Memorial Day, kind of like weaving through cars. And I think that like maybe 90% of the engagement of that reel were people who didn't know Lombard Street was a real place.
Yeah.
And like they live in wherever, Africa or the Middle East, and they play a video game that has Lombard Street in it, and they're like, wow, we got this street in real life before GTA 6. Like, but yeah, so there's a couple fluke ones like that where I'm like, oh, I didn't even think that was a cool clip. And then it gets 30 million views. I'm like, all right, so maybe my judgment is not the best thing. So put content out there and see how it does.
And so far, what's your best performing video?
There's one that's next to the Golden Gate Bridge that's like somewhere above 35 million.
Wow.
It's pretty cool.
That's crazy.
That one, like...
What were you doing?
I was just riding down this little ridge line. There's like a cool exposure cliff to the right and Golden Gate Bridge in front with... it was like 15 minutes after sunset.
This is on the Marin Headland side? Like over there, if you're driving over the bridge, it's on the left?
Yeah. And ultimately, I did get in some trouble for that video because it reached some people that maybe didn't want to see it.
Yeah.
Which is super reasonable. Like, I will asterisk, like, but a lot of the content I post is, like, not legal. And you grew up in this area riding bikes. Like, most of the riding that we have here is not, like, explicitly legal.
Yeah.
Whether it's Marin or Santa Cruz or any of the coastline between. So, that is a little asterisk that I got to put there.
Yeah. And I guess, do you get into trouble for that? Because you're actively putting it out. Like, what really can happen?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to say. So there's like, I was contacted by the park. Said, hey, like, we're going to write you some citations. And maybe I'll have to go to court and talk about those. But that's to be decided.
Hopefully that all turns out all right.
I hope so.
Everyone can rally behind him. Let Teddy ride.
Yeah. I'll put me in your prayers. Just kidding.
Cool. Okay, now all of this filming in a public setting, surely you have people that come up to you, they try to block your riding, they get angry, you're riding, you're flying down, you're flying by them on a stair set. You ever have a funny story where someone's like messing with you?
To be honest, pretty much never. Like, I think for one, I'm somewhat conscious of traffic, so I don't like try to flagrantly ride down a staircase when a bunch of tourists are coming up or something like that. But yeah, I've never actually had like an altercation when filming, especially in San Francisco. Definitely people in the comment section will kind of lay into me and be like, oh, this is like super unsafe. My argument is like, as professional riders, like we have really good bike control. That might be hard to understand as like a observer. But yeah, so no, never had an issue with a person getting mad at me riding in the city or doing any of the stuff that I film. I have had numerous encounters with people on just like hiking trails in my life that like they get upset.
Of course.
I'm not supposed to be there, which is, that is the law. So I understand. Yeah.
And it's always shocking to me, knock on wood, but usually when you're riding, even sometimes very quickly, we can most of the time come to a stop and be like, I'm really sorry, go around. Like I had that problem this weekend. I was riding a trail and there were some hikers and we came to a very fast stop after like this huge transfer gap section. And I'm thinking to myself, first of all, I'm glad I can come to a stop in that situation, but somewhat blind corner and it's just pulling the brakes and you're good, hopefully. Yeah.
Again, I ride a lot of hiking trails and there are certain corners where I won't like fully commit to because there's a blind exit.
Exactly.
But yeah, I think it's just like, again, you kind of learn a different skill set riding stuff that people could be hiking on. The same goes for like trails in SoCal too. Like I see a lot of videos of like people blasting a trail that is like, agreed to be a bike trail. And then there's like a hiker coming up and that does happen.
Some people don't know.
Yeah. Some people don't know. And it's reasonable. Like you come to a cool trail and you're like, oh, you don't understand that like jumps and berms. I mean, probably mountain bikes are going to come down really fast and you take your dogs up there. Right. So I understand, but yeah, especially like in Marin, like oftentimes we're going a lot slower. Like those trails, like you've ridden up there a bit with me and those trails are like very slow, kind of Euro style, like kind of picking your way down. So in a case like that, it's very easy to stop. And at least all the stuff I film, like I have a good line of sight. So I'm never like blind sending something around a corner where there could be a group of people.
That's good.
Yeah.
It's good practice for sure.
Got to keep it safe for sure.
Yeah. Okay, now changing gears a little bit. You are also an entrepreneur. You're building a small business. It's called Cyclo.
Yeah.
It's a whole little piece of tech you can add onto your bike and help track things. Maybe you can explain it better than me, but I just wanted to get into that.
Yeah. So I think you and I both kind of have the same idea that mountain biking is a space that we think is very cool. And there is a large market there. There's a lot of people who like mountain bikes, especially a lot of people who like bicycles in the world. And I do think like most of the sort of tech disruption in cycling is like in the physical space. So people are making gearboxes or telemetry devices or whatever. And I don't think there's that much effort being put into software to help, mountain bikers or cyclists in general kind of like really get the most out of the sport. There are certain players there, like obviously like Strava is an example of a product that like a lot of people use for riding mountain bikes. But yeah, so I've been working kind of in software or for a variety of startups for the last like few years. And I kind of wanted to quit my job and do something in cycling or in mountain biking. So my original thought was like, hey, I use GPS to track all my bike rides, but like that data is not super useful for for me as like a mountain bike rider. Like it's useful to know, hey, I climbed this much and I went this many miles, but there's a lot more utility that you could kind of extract out of that data. So I started a company called Cyclo, which originally was, hey, it's a dashboard to manage your bikes. So you can, in the original formulation, you can take your Strava account, you connect it to a piece of gear, and then you automatically kind of track the hours, mileage, elevation on the bike. Which for one can give you an opportunity to get like service recommendations. So for suspension, like it's really hard to track, have I reached my 50-hour service interval on my fork? So you just get a notification that says, hey, you've reached your interval, like probably should service your fork. gives you an opportunity to actually record that service and like say, hey, it was serviced here and here and here. So down the line, the fork has 250 hours. You're like, has this thing been serviced or the bushing shot? And then for 2, the other aspect of it is like it allows you a platform to manage your setup over time. So
very important.
Super important. Like, especially as like a racer, you understand like you get a bike and it takes you a long time to get used to that bike, and your setup, whether it's like for your general base settings or for different conditions, like you need a place to both store that record and like kind of keep track of how that changes over time. So yeah, Cyclo in its essence is you can track the use of your bike, get, suspension service recommendations, and you can kind of create a tuning journal over time. So
right.
Like I can go back in time and look at a race that I did a year ago. That activity is correlated to a group of settings that worked really well for those trails. And I can kind of use that as a reference. And I think that like really what I'd like to do in the long run is make that more of a collaborative thing. Like, so you can understand the settings of the people on the World Cup circuit or before Hardline or Rampage. Or you see how Seabass sets up his bike.
Yeah.
I don't know how heavy he is, but that bike is set up differently than everyone else's bike. So that's kind of where I'd like to go with it. It's more of like a collaborative place for people to like really get into their gear, whether it's talking about it or just tuning. But yeah, there have been some hiccups along the way. So as I mentioned, like we built this all off of Strava. Mm-hmm. It makes sense. Like, hey, we're like most people use Strava. Like I took some surveys on Instagram. It's like 50% of people who responded to I do track my rides use the Strava mobile app. Some portion of people use Garmin data, they upload it to Strava, and then some people don't upload to Strava at all, which is like, kind of the core race community, like low-key don't use Strava. But recently in the fall, Strava actually changed their API usage guidelines. So API is like how you interact with Strava through code. Mm-hmm. So all of a sudden they made it so developers are unable to do any analytics on the data. So this is very frustrating for people like me and for a lot of other companies that are built on top of Strava. It's like they have this API, it's open use forever. You build a cool product and then they're like, oh, actually, like we have the ability to pull the rug on your product at any time.
Right.
So I'm not super stoked on that. And like a lot of people are also frustrated about that on the internet. So I'm in the process of kind of like migrating it all away from Strava. So you can use, Garmin or Wahoo and kind of have it kept inside the platform. But that's been kind of a hiccup. But yeah, just the general process of trying to build a product into a business is kind of a fun thing. Like I've always been like very engineering focused, and then trying to be like, oh, how do I actually make this a sustainable business? If that's the goal, is a whole different ballgame.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And do you have help with this? Do you have a co-founder, or are you just doing it by yourself?
At this time, I'm doing it by myself. I've had a couple friends like along the path helping me out. Thank you to them. And yeah, I expect Cyclo to kind of be a project forever, but I don't see it as like a sole source of income or anything.
Right.
It's more of like a passion play.
Cool.
And there are like a few hundred people who have accounts and use it. Highly suggest anyone listening to this, cyclo.bike.
Yeah.
Just make an account, check it out.
It's really cool. So I'll go into a little more detail, kind of backtrack, but when you sign up for Cyclo, you enter your bike and then you enter each specific part that's on that bike. So some of the bike profiles they already built out with maybe the stock specs?
Yeah. So we are working with a partner called 99 Spokes.
Right.
And they have like a huge data set of, it's like 260,000 bikes. And that's like the complete build and the geometry. So you can kind of pre-select like a stock bike from that. And then we've also built like a custom bike builder. So, I build my bikes up from frame, and a stock build is not super useful. So you can just kind of like look up, oh, I want to do a Fox fork or a RockShox rear shock or whatever. So we're kind of working on that custom bike build. Like there's always new parts coming out, and like maintaining that data set's like actually really difficult.
Right.
So shout out to everyone who's tried to do this in the past, but it's actually like a really hard thing to do.
Yeah.
It's like there's nowhere you can just search like, give me every mountain bike suspension piece and how many clicks of compression they have.
Right.
So.
Yeah. And then so you upload your bike. For example, I've got a Transition Sentinel, RockShox Zeb, Super Deluxe Shock, and you are able to pull out of those products the data for servicing, lifespan, etc. And then you plug all of that into one central picture. And when hours elapse on that bike, you're able to call out, hey, this fork needs service at 40 hours. And then the chain needs replacement at 70 hours or whatever it is.
Theoretically, yeah.
And those sort of are proposed to you, brought up to you as you hit those hour marks. Or I think I remember you see them in like a percentage use. right?
Yeah, so you see them in a percentage use, and they are like recommended to you. So there's like a, kind of like an alert. It's like, hey, you kind of have a lot of hours on this chain. Maybe you should service it. But yeah, there's certain components that are like very easy to predict their kind of life cycle, like suspension as like a well-defined service interval. There's other parts like chain and brake pads, which like have a well-defined service interval for you as a rider, but that is harder to define from the manufacturer.
Right.
Like, sure, they have like a recommendation, but it's like actually really hard to figure that out. So
depends if you're riding double blacks or greens.
Yeah,
the hours
bike
change a
park,
lot.
Yeah. So we're working on kind of using like more descending time as a metric to predict these things.
And you've got to pull that out of the data because it doesn't really have it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you cannot see on Strava how much time I've descended this week, which I think is a problem. I think in the long run, maybe medium term, I do think that there needs to be an alternative to Strava for cyclists. That may be something that I'm working on with some people. Maybe not.
Because in essence, Strava is not a mountain bike company or bike even. It's just sports in general, recording.
Exactly. It's like what they call it, the app for active people.
Yeah.
Which is cool. Like their biggest asset is this like horizontal focus on all sports, but it's also their biggest weakness because they're never going to build rich features for cyclists.
Right.
So you see like this crazy ecosystem where you record your activities on Oahu, you upload it to Strava, you upload it to Training Peaks, and I don't know, it's kind of scattered. Like it'd be really cool to have one platform where cyclists connect over the rides that they do.
Love it.
Strava's cool for now, but there are also a lot of problems with Strava. For example, like heat map data exposing trail builders 6 months of work in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So there are like privacy concerns with Strava for sure. And, as I mentioned, they're no longer very developer forward, which is disappointing to me. So
yeah, that's a shame. Okay. So now someone's ridden 100 hours on their bike that they've uploaded into Cyclo, and it's been tracking all of their rides, now not through Strava, through a different platform. They take their bike to the bike shop, and the bike shop mechanic is able to see what parts they have and how much they've been used. And when those products are replaced, they're able to renew them in essence.
Yeah. So there's a couple points here. So one thing I didn't mention is like you can buy from Cyclo, it's called an NFC tag. So the same tech that's like behind Tap to Pay. So just a little sticker that goes on the bike frame that allows you to tap it and pull up the profile. So for you, like that provides some value because like instead of like going on the app and looking up your bike, you can just tap the bike. But it provides a lot more value for like the mechanic. So the mechanic can go on there, they can tap the frame, they can see maybe the service recommendations, and they can also record the service physically to the tag. So they get a little mechanic key, they say, hey, I did this, this, and this, and that goes into the profile. So kind of bridging that gap between the shop and you and just, organizing the service.
Can that be useful for theft too? Like connecting the bike back to you?
Yeah, theoretically, so there is a feature in there that registers the bike in a database called Project 529, which is like a serial number rider registry. There's a couple products out there like Project 529, Bike Index. So in that sense, like it does have some theft prevention angle. It just allows you to onboard your bike to a database a little bit easier. Again, just like connecting these disparate little pieces of tech. But yeah, so you can buy the NFC tag, put it on your bike, and the mechanic can record the service.
Cool. Yeah. In terms of, as a racer, ex-racer, race team guy, I record a lot of suspension settings. Half of them are in my head and the other half are on a notepad on my phone.
Yeah.
So having a better picture of that and knowing how many clicks out of how many clicks is super helpful.
Yeah. And what I've been doing personally, like this isn't live on the website, but I got a new frame. So the same KX500 Dreadnought that you guys have in the other room right here.
Yeah.
And I've been trying some different setup on the bike. And basically, I've gone up a lot in pressure and I've kind of come down in compression, and just being able to kind of chart that over time. And like I've also put on a lot of weight this off season. I've been like back in the gym.
Nice.
I put on like 10 pounds. And so like just understanding like, hey, how has this bike setup changed over time is like, I think a lot of value for the rider.
And it's storing past updates and
Correct. Yeah. So every time you do an activity, it takes a snapshot of the bike.
Right.
Activity could be, a Strava ride or something on your Garmin. But yeah, it just takes a snapshot and you can refer to those in the past. And, that data exists and there's a lot more that we could do with it, So you could also like see, say someone's interested in riding a Sentinel, they can check out Bailey settings or.
That's very cool.
Someone who's like really ripping at the top end, you're like, how do they set up their bike compared to me? And it's something I actually heard on your podcast. I don't know if it was Alan that mentioned it, but how people in mountain biking are a lot less cagey about their setup than like maybe other sports. Like they're down to kind of share how these bikes are, set up to rip and race at the top level.
In a lot of the bike checks, it's fully exposing their entire setup. Now, it's very individual by individual, but at least if you know it works for him, there's something you can work off of there. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, and even in bike checks, like one thing that I want to do with Cyclo is like it's just an easy way to share your bike. So a bike check, like you can write it up, you can write all the clicks of compression, but it's kind of hard to get a reference point as to like what that means. So we kind of we display the compression and the rebound as a percentage of the total clicks, and because we have the data for every suspension part, it's like easier to kind of get a reference point. But yeah, share your bike setup, whether that's going to be under the Cyclo brand or maybe a different name.
Cool.
It's to be decided.
Yeah. Yeah. In a lot of Formula One or other sports, there's no way they're sharing setup about those vehicles because that is their secret sauce. Totally. But that's one thing I've learned in the journey is something could work really well for me, but someone who just has 3 more pounds over the front end or rides a little bit further back, it's completely different. It's going to react completely differently. So there's no right or wrong way.
Totally. I mean, so I think it's pretty cool that the industry is kind of coming around to size-specific geometry and also kind of like customization within that size. Like I have the ability with my Dreadnought to switch the dropouts and change the chainstay length, which is great. And it would also be kind of cool to be able to adjust the reach like a little bit. Like, like a downhill bike has a big head tube and you can put a reach adjust without affecting the stack height too much. But yeah, I think that like the industry is slowly converging to this like kind of modular form where it's like you have 3 sizes of bikes and then you have some customization within those sizes to suit the rider preference.
I totally agree. And, I think that's part of what was plaguing the industry and part of what makes things extra hard for the mountain bike industry is the variance, the sizes, the different specs, SKUs, all this stuff is just very difficult for everyone to track and invest money in because you can only focus money in so many places. When you have to spread it out over extra small through extra large, it becomes very hard to forecast and everything. And also mullet versus full 29 now. I look at that Forbidden and it makes so much sense. You have a dropout that allows you to run mullet and all it does is drop the through axle, the rear axle, down slightly, and it keeps the geometry roughly similar with a smaller rear wheel.
Yeah.
And, it also, they factor in a little bit of tweak to make that bike ride better. And then you can also run, small, short rear end through extra long rear end.
Yeah.
And you see bikes like the stump jumpers and stuff, they have angle adjust in the headset. You can move it forward, back, like the whole thing forward, the whole thing back, and change the angles.
Yeah. And, my buddy Brian was testing out the stump jumper for a while, and he's riding an S4 frame, and he put an S5 seat stay on it to get more chain stay.
Really?
I thought it was cool. And, like, that's not an explicit option, but, like, there is a world where you can kind of customize the geometry of your bike.
Yeah.
Which is cool, I like just, like, part of the value of mountain biking, like, why it's so, easily to obsess over is, like, the bike is, like, this unlimited puzzle. And you can always kind of, like, get things to feel a little bit different for a different track or a different area. And you can always just, like, be playing with it. So.
Yeah. I think manufacturers strive to have like this very clean end product, but the reality is geometry is so good nowadays. I feel like we're getting to the first era of like somewhat evergreen mountain bikes.
There are certain brands out there, like Forbidden's a good example of like a mainstream brand who has some customization, but then you can go on the extreme of something like Geometron. Like that bike with the mutators and stuff is like a crazy cool concept. But yeah, it points back to what you were saying is like, to try to sell a bike like that at scale is very hard. And also the demographic for that kind of bike is like so niche, where the people who buy that are going to appreciate it so much because they can, really mess with this bike in a huge way.
Can't make it too big because you kind of have to protect the consumer from themselves at the same time.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of how suspension clickers are,
right.
like brands have the 2 different tiers of forks with the basic clicker that's like, they don't even let you change the compression.
Right.
Maybe your rebound and the spring rate. And then you can buy the factory series Fox stuff which has low speed compression, high speed compression, low speed rebound, etc. And I am a victim of getting lost in the settings.
Oh yeah.
So like I would find myself like, oh, okay, I want it to be like a trophy truck, so I'm gonna make my low speed rebound super fast and my high speed rebound slow. And it's like, I think at probably like you're better off running close to base settings.
Yeah, honestly. And I think that's actually a detriment to a lot of people. And the sort of consumer that gets the stuff with less adjustment is probably better off for it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think for 90% of people, that makes sense. But that's, I guess, barring some external force, like some like objectivity provided by like the new RockShox, like telemetry stuff. I don't know what that's called. The ShockWiz was
the ShockWiz,
yeah. But it's still ShockWiz?
Not many people have that stuff or can understand it. So
yeah,
it's a shame how many people get the factory level, ultimate level stuff, especially factory with Fox with the high low speed rebound. That's where I see a lot of people go wrong.
Yeah.
They will have this $1,200-$1,300 fork and just absolutely ruin it, make it worse than like a low end rhythm fork because they've got their high speed rebound all the way closed.
Yep.
And they can't feel it, but really it is affecting them on the trail.
Yeah.
And maybe that's where Cyclo can help, is making these details, these specs, these tuning setups more public so that people can see them and go, hey, maybe I should try this.
Yeah. I mean, I think like the ceiling for the tech in that regard is like so high. Because you think about like the fundamental problem that you're trying to solve is like, different areas have different styles of trail. And even within a race, like you go somewhere like Whistler, you'll do a stage in Blackcomb that's like super raw, off camber routes, slabby, pretty slow speed. And then you'll do a stage in the bike park that's like the polar opposite thing. And I know that like a lot of the top EWS guys, they're changing their clickers between stages.
Yeah, some of them.
Which is cool. And like, but that's something I've never really messed with. Like, because I don't want to get lost. Like,
you have to be really in tune and have a lot of time testing.
Yeah, and have a lot of data, and have that data in the past be organized in a way that you can actually use it. So again, that's like one of the problems that I'd love to solve with Cyclo, or would love someone else to solve for me.
Right.
But yeah, it's like cool. You see a lot of tech coming out of like bike companies. So like, I'm sure Specialized has like an app that helps you tune their bike, and I know Norco has an app, and Forbidden has resources for getting the bikes right. But I do think that there needs to be like a brand agnostic platform for doing that, because most people own different brands of bikes, and it's like you want to have that all organized, and you don't have to have two different apps that work in two different ways. So just making that kind of consistent. And like RockShox, I'm sure, like I haven't messed with like the RockShox app, but I know like with Flight Attendant you can tune stuff, and but yeah, again, like I have like an aversion to downloading a new app for anything.
Oh, yeah.
Like I hate it.
Yeah.
I kind of think like apps are going away. Like the app era is like way past us.
People understate the importance of just a landing page on a website. Like you don't need to download a whole nother app.
Well, yeah. I mean, and in that way, like Cyclo is not a mobile app.
Yeah.
Cyclo is a website that works very well on your phone. Like the design choice there is like, it's hard to build a mobile app that works well across different platforms. So building something that works well on an iPhone and an Android that has all the features, that also has a website, like quite hard.
Also, so much money to build Android and Apple, and you probably need a website too.
You need a website.
So it's just, I think you made the right choice there. And maybe, I think, like you said, telemetry and data collection is super, super important. And maybe it's me being naive about suspension and everything, but I've used a lot of telemetry systems. They all work really well, but they're, in addition to the suspension, they have another plunger that collects data.
Right.
In essence, suspension is a plunger with dampening, all this stuff.
Yeah.
Could there be a way in the future? I'm sure people are working on it with electronic suspension, but could there be a way to turn that into data collection too, with the addition of sensors and stuff?
Yeah, it's a good question. I'm sure someone's doing that, and I'm sure like, look to different sports. Like I don't know if in F1 or if in Moto, like they're doing that, like internal telemetry. But yeah, like that's theoretically possible in the next 10 years. I mean,
listen up, bike people.
Come on, bike people, put a sensor in your fork. I don't know. Like some people have tried it, like Live Valve. I don't exactly know, like, but I remember originally they were like, oh, we're gonna do telemetry on this too. I don't know how that's shaken out.
Right.
I haven't actually ridden a Fox suspension product in a while. I don't know. I got a RockShox fork in like 2016 and had them since. Not that I'm not sponsored by SRAM.
Yeah, everything just works well nowadays. You get the good stuff from either of the brands. A lot of the brands, it's just good. Just works.
I mean, it's like a couple bikes ago, I'm guilty of like going 150 hours without servicing a RockShox fork, and worked
It's
great.
forgiving. Yeah, forgiving.
Yeah, so that's like, it goes against like my whole thing. It's like, oh, you should service your fork on time.
You're building an app so that people can, and you're not servicing them.
Again, it just depends on like if you want that kind of performance at the margin or if you kind of don't care. And like I do think our sport's like split in these two categories of like people who are going to ride in baggy jeans and do free ride lines and like don't care about their bike setup. And then there's like the tweaky racer. Both cool.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned that KX500 we have over in the other room. Yep, that is our giveaway bike. In about a month, someone's going to be winning a brand new KX500 Forbidden Dreadnought with all those adjustments that you just mentioned. Really cool build. All you got to do is shop on ReconMTB.com. We've got a bunch of cool products, tires, chains. I know your rear tire is gone.
Smoked.
Just go ahead and order one. We'll get it to you quickly, and you could win that new bike.
Yeah, man. Then I have two of them. and then I could have a race bike and a practice bike.
Well, hopefully someone that needs a new bike anyways can get lucky.
That bike is so sick. Let me just say that the color, like, I don't normally ride like a loud bike, like color-wise, but I chose the KX500 for this year because it's so sick.
Yeah.
Like, it's got that like Kawasaki green. I don't know if I'm allowed to even say it's Kawasaki.
Well, it's
got that
KX500
green color that
you know?
everyone recognizes, and it's got the pink accents on there, which is kind of sweet.
Yeah.
I got one at home. I'm gonna do like a new bike build post soon. But I got like the red Zeb on there and some red bits to kind of match, and it looks super sick.
Yeah,
I'm stoked.
And you can get a dyed bro for it.
I have
on ReconMTB.com. Yeah. Oh, let's go.
What do I have? I've got the green lightning bolt dyed bro.
That's gonna look really good.
It looks great.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. The KX500's fun because when I was growing up, like my dad had a CR500 just before his KX500. Like that's like a very iconic era for me.
Yeah.
In old raw dirt bikes. So it's just cool they brought that back into today's world.
Yeah, it's cool. And like Forbidden is doing some different things with their colors that they've done in the past. Like they're all raw carbon rear ends and then this like kind of raw carbon to, fade.
Yeah.
Which is cool. And like I've been on the Forbidden bikes for a while now and I'm stoked on this one.
Cool.
Like, it's my second year on this new Dreadnought and the bikes take a while to get used to because they're, like, especially if you haven't ridden a high pivot bike before, like it's cool, but it's different. Like that bike grows when you push through the suspension. It eats up bumps, but like compared to the first generation Dreadnought, I feel like this one's actually like a lot better race bike. Like it kind of pumps a lot better and feels more of like a firm platform.
Yeah. What better time to have this very giveaway bike and have you here talking about it?
That's true. I know. I can attest it's a sick bike. And like outside of sponsorship and everything, like for clarity, I am sponsored by Forbidden now, and that's awesome. Stoked to work with them. But I've been riding their bikes because I think they're sick for like 4 years before I had like much value to provide to a brand. So I was buying the bikes and riding them because they're dope.
I love when that happens. I love when you like kind of create a vision, work towards it, and then people recognize what you're doing.
Yeah, no, it's cool. Those guys are cool. Like they came down to Sea Otter this year for the first time. I thought that was great. They're like really trying to get into the U.S. market a bit more. So
yeah, those new e-bikes look crazy.
Hoping to get my hands on one of those eventually.
Ooh. Which one?
I think the big one.
Okay.
The Core.
Yeah,
like I might be getting a big boy job soon here in San Francisco. It could be happening. And in that case, like I've been kind of like anti e-bike for a long time because like I have the liberty of having 4 or 5 hours a day to ride, and so like I'll put in a big ride on my analog bike. But if I do get a job, then I'm not gonna have time, and I want to go like rip in Marin and spend 2 hours riding 5,000 feet of elevation. So might be getting the e-bike.
E-bikes are great for that. Yeah, I have a transition relay right now, which is like sort of I wouldn't call it mid. It's slightly more than mid power. It's 60 Newton meters, 400 watt hour battery roughly. Yeah. You can remove the battery. That's why I like it so much. Is I can put it in a box and fly it to Europe without a battery. I've got a battery there, and when I'm at a bike park, just take the battery out, or if I'm shuttling, take the battery out. Or if I need a little bit of juice to follow some people around throughout a long day, I'll put the battery in.
I mean, you're manager mode. Like you need an e-bike.
That is the manager bike.
That is like you can't. It's like if you're a manager or a photographer, like you should get a free e-bike.
You definitely need an e-bike.
Like, the e-bike god should gift you one.
I'm very curious about the Druid Lite just because of its weight, and then also I'm just generally in here, like around here, in love with riding a smaller, more nimble bike.
Yeah.
And I've never ridden a smaller, more nimble bike that also has a little bit of added e-bike power and weight. I'm just very curious about how that would ride.
Yeah.
I just love the way that the industry is going and moving with outside tech, making the e-bikes lighter. We've had a lot of discussions about where e-bikes are going, where they are now, and how much further can they go. But I get, at one point I was like, they can't get much better than this. But I keep hearing little tech bits.
This
and I'm
is
like,
the worst they'll ever be. This is the worst
Yeah.
anything will ever be.
it's
Except
crazy.
for like geopolitical strife. But yeah, like the DJI stuff seems cool. Like that definitely moved the bar a little bit for e-bikes. Like again, I've never even really ridden an e-bike my whole life. So I'm like curious, but I'm like totally just
Oh, you got to ride one.
I know. I gotta try it out. But yeah, like it's like 1,000 watts output from that motor, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Like that's like a really solid sprint. Like if you sprint in 1,000 watts, like putting down some power.
Right. Now imagine you sprinting plus that.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Like it's surprising that the drivetrains can hold up to that kind of abuse.
I think we're getting to the edge of that, and that's why gearboxes are becoming a part of the conversation.
Yeah. Yeah, and then there's like the mid-motor e-bike plus gearbox ecosystem thing.
Right.
But like no one's solved that problem as far as I understand.
I'm sure behind closed doors, they're getting a lot closer than we think.
Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, man, I'd like to try that e-bike at some point.
You know what I saw, and it was maybe a few years ago now, and it made me very curious about not only cars, but bikes, is there were a group of scientists, I think it was in Sweden, they found a way to have carbon fiber be woven to the battery, or the battery be carbon fiber.
Like a structural battery.
Like a structural battery.
Yeah.
But it made me think immediately, like, what if the bike frame itself was the battery? The entire thing, seat tube, could hold a charge. And maybe it would be heavier, but maybe it wouldn't be heavier than carbon plus this huge battery inside.
Yeah,
But I think it's many years down the line.
You know, I think there's validity to that, but I think that probably like the battery density is just gonna get so good.
Right.
Like I think already this DJI system, like the battery density is a lot better. Like by a factor of, I don't know, 1.5.
I mean, the fact that it's in production right now means it was probably the state of the art 2 years ago at least.
Yeah.
So just imagine what they have today.
Yeah, I mean, I as far as I understand, again, I'm not an e-bike person, but these are lithium-ion batteries, and like there are better battery density tech than lithium-ion that exist now. These, you know, probably will be applied to like electric cars or maybe like consumer appliances first, and then trickle down to e-bikes in the future. But yeah, like the batteries will get smaller, the motors will get more powerful or stay the same and get smaller. You know, it's cool.
Love it.
I'm definitely a proponent of a normal bike, to be clear. I do think that like e-bike serves a purpose in the bike world, and a normal bike is, you know, the primary kind of thing that we love to ride. And like I think there's a lot of value in like earning your own turns and going on a super long ride and getting lost and kind of relying on your own power. So
I agree. And e-bikes are almost a little bit too good to be true in that way.
Yeah.
But every time I get back on a really well set up normal bike, there's nothing that rides downhill like it. And you are happier to earn that descent.
Yeah.
And it's better for your body, and you're doing more cardio.
Yeah.
I think everyone can agree on that.
Totally. And it just kind of like you feel more at peace with the world.
Yeah.
Under your own power.
Exactly.
I keep having problems with my electronic drivetrains. Like,
You always forget to charge them. I remember the last time we went riding.
That's true.
You roll up, you're like, I just need 10 minutes. My Axis batteries are dead. And you're just charging them real quick.
Charging them in the car. But like, I don't know. Like, I don't want to talk trash about anyone, but like, I'm on my 4th warranty of this trailer.
Oh, boy.
4th. And they just keep stop working. It's like won't shift. I'm like, okay, well, like, there's nothing to do to revive it. So it's like, I wonder, like, the profitability of that. Like, I'm stoked that Strava made a GX trailer that is wireless, and that was cool. And it's like more cost accessible, but
Still expensive.
and like I've warrantied it 4 times.
Yeah.
So
Lately, I've been running the new Eagle 90 stuff, which is the wired stuff.
that's what I've been thinking about switching to.
Very good.
Take the battery off the bike.
Nice.
Just go back to standard setup.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. So Nick, I'm kind of curious, like your background. You are first of all a bike rider, second of all a racer and team manager with Theory, and then you had an idea. You and Michael had an idea to get into the bike space with a startup. I think what you guys did with social media is like super cool. Like really emphasizing, hey, good content, competing with like the legacy mountain bike media outlets in a way that's like a bit more compatible with like this modern content format. And then building a product on top of that. But I'm kind of curious if you have like any, any lessons you've learned along the way, or kind of like motivations for you getting into this, and like, how's it going?
Yeah. Thank you for teeing that all up. I mean, almost everything I've done in the bike world has led up to what we're doing right now with Recon MTB, and just the lessons along the way of riding, trying different products, being a consumer, racing, understand the high end of sports marketing. I worked at shops, I worked at bike brands. So I had a pretty good picture of where the industry was at, and it's just the industry that I love. I love riding. I love everyone involved. It's surprisingly a small industry that most people know each other very well or know of. Everyone knows someone that knows that person.
That is the mind-boggling thing about the bike world. There's like 100 guys.
Exactly.
100 guys and gals.
Exactly. And when we set out to build this business, it was a very content-forward business. A lot of people didn't know what we were building until we launched it. And that was the biggest eye-opener for me that Michael was able to bring in, is how important content is to creating awareness around your project, and a lot of value that isn't necessarily measurable, but is very, very valuable. And so we went to launch Recon MTB, launched on March 18th, and that was our online store. And from that point, many, many people, because of our audience, were able to recognize what we built immediately. And it surprisingly, even then, took time. Once we posted a few videos, it was like, wait a second, if we have X amount of followers, call it 50,000 on Instagram at that point in time, those 1 or 2 videos, if we got lucky, maybe only still reached 10% of our followers. And for people to understand this is what they're doing, and then maybe implement that into their daily habits, or they want to buy something and not just go, oh, I'm going to Jensen. Oh, I forgot. Those guys that I watch on Instagram, they're building an e-commerce platform and a shop. I could buy it from them. Yeah. So that's what I was really surprised about, is that journey, but understanding how important content was. And then also, like you mentioned, sort of like building in public. I think you're able to watch that journey, and that's also what you've done a little bit. Yeah. So
it makes you accountable. You have to keep doing the thing. You can't just stop.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's sick. It inspires others to maybe build something as well.
Yeah. And there's people who maybe talk a little bit of smack or critique you along the way, but that's just the internet. That's how it works. And I think in the grand scheme, we were lucky in people being positive and rooting for us. And the people who are weird, the industry's small. I know who you are. We know who you are. So that's it.
Yeah.
And and I think we got a lot of attention from other players. We found that people liked us, didn't like us. A lot of the brands that we could actively work with, help sell products.
Yeah.
Overwhelming support from them, because they thought, hey, these guys are coming in, they're offering value that we haven't seen yet.
Yeah, something new.
Maybe they can help us sell, products and whatever else. And other brands that I didn't see ourselves competing with, but they somehow thought that. They got really angry, didn't like us, tried to do stuff to make us not exist or have a hiccup along the way. It is cutthroat, surprisingly. I mean, those are a lot of things we learned. It's just how it works really. And but like I said, we try to just build it independently, do our best to post the journey. Yeah. And here we are today.
Cool, man. I wonder if you could divulge anything like, do you have a goal for a year out from now, or even like if you're trying to build something 5 years out, anything tangible you can share?
I mean, like with any startup, there's not immediate success. And I just want what we've built to be infinitely sustainable,
Yeah.
So we've poured a lot into our business here, and we just need to make sure that the cogs can keep turning and that it's sustainable and it's a net benefit to the whole industry, because we're helping everyone. We're getting people new bikes, getting people new products that they need. There's a whole host of benefits along the way, and high quality content they can continue to consume. And that's a year from now where I want to be, in a position where just the whole thing is helping everyone and helping itself, and it's just this great machine,
Yeah, man.
But it takes time, like anything. It takes time and work, and that's just time to put in the work. So.
Especially because you've been so public, is like, you can't build something behind closed doors for 2 years and then release it, and it's this like crazy developed product that finds product market fit really quickly.
Yeah.
So you guys are like doing that in real life.
Yeah, real time.
I mean, I think that like, in principle, your marketplace business can like become autonomous and just like run in the background. And then I do think that like you guys are really well positioned to compete with like legacy mountain bike media. And like those platforms get so many eyeballs, and there's a lot of money flowing through them, and they employ a lot of people. And I have been a consumer of Pink Bike for forever. like since maybe 2011 when I started mountain biking. I've been on Pink Bike almost every day browsing.
Same here.
Yeah. And Pink Bike content's great, but there is a lot to be desired that's outside of that. And there's some people kind of rising to the occasion through independent media, like through YouTube or Instagram or whatever. And they're giving content and doing reviews and stuff for, you know, maybe it's a little more authentic. And I think in like the next 5 or 10 years, like that whole legacy media space for mountain biking is going to get shaken up. And, you know, it's cool to see you guys throwing your hand at it.
Yeah. You know, especially all the independent creators working to improve the bike review process, like our friend Brian, trail reviews. Pink Bike has just always been so structured and so stuck in their ways. And we've seen them trying to try different things, but, and try series. I mean, I actually really liked Pink Bike Academy. Some people...
Me too. I applied for Pink Bike Academy for the first season ever. I was actually watching my application video like 2 days ago. It's like, it was kind of a good video. Like, didn't hear back from them.
Shame. No, I actually really enjoyed that series. I don't know exactly where it ended up. And Bradley Harris was one of the top contestants on one of the seasons. He ended up on my team.
Oh, cool.
And that was like the main introduction to him.
Yeah.
And no, I think they do a lot of things really well. We're trying to do slightly different things. We're trying our best to do them really well. Yeah. Some people often measure us against them. I wouldn't say we're out to get them. We're just doing our thing. So that's sort of where we're at.
Yeah. I mean, and just to kind of point back to that, like, you've built this team. I remember when you were like, I'm going to start an AWS team. I'm like, that's crazy. Like, how are you going to do that? And then like, sure enough, like you have Bailey getting top 5s.
Yeah.
And Julie's killing it.
Yeah.
And like, you have these diva riders kind of coming up and like, you guys are actually doing it. Like you're, somehow you've penetrated like this very competitive, like space that's always been locked up. To me, I'm like, oh, I can never start a bike team and like actually try to compete at the world level. So that's a testament to like you can achieve that. It's like, hey, what can you do with Recon?
It's been quite the journey with Theory. I mean, we set out to start that. Me and a few friends, I sort of spearheaded the whole thing in 2019. Mm-hmm. Turns out 2020 was not the year to go racing. And
that's
neither were
quit racing, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, neither were the next 3 years really. But I tried to keep it as a product that could sustain itself.
Yeah.
And then it's grown. And I've had up years and down years, but this year's been really cool to see. Bailey's scoring top 10 elites. He finished the last season as under 21 world champion, World Series champion.
Cool.
Julie this year is really consistently in the top 10 overall, which is really cool.
Yeah.
7th overall. Maybe there's even potential for her to go up in there. And it's cool. I mean, the World Cup scene has always been a passion of mine.
Yeah.
Coming from racing. And I'm just fascinated about what they can do with it. I think it's been bumpy until now, as anyone has seen, but
yeah,
it's just been cool.
Yeah, I think that like in terms of, you know, the sport went through both the pandemic and also like the acquisition by Warner Brothers. So 2 very like significant hurdles to overcome. And I kind of feel it's hard to kind of like point my finger as to why, but like I do feel this momentum building and like reaching stride right now. Like I heard that the broadcasting for downhill is actually like making money for Warner Brothers now. Like these broadcasts are getting a ton of views. They're on Max, HBO, and
they're actually televised in Europe, like live TV too.
It's
they have
amazing.
Commercial breaks.
Yeah,
like I'm
sick.
like, why is there 24 minutes between Jackson Goldstone and Loic Brunier? It's because there's a big commercial break or whatever else, you know.
But yeah, they're doing it. They're making the sport like kind of get to a bigger audience. I was always like, Red Bull TV's killing it. Like, why would you ever change? And now kind of in retrospect, Red Bull has been able to diversify and do events like Hardline and run their own downhill series, which are amazing broadcasts. They still have like Rob Warner in the box, like talking, which, you know, we miss that guy. Mm-hmm. And then Warner Brothers is like come to their own thing. And like, they've got good commentators finally, and the races are good. And the enduro stuff's like been really engaging to me this year. Like, I don't know if it's because I
think it's turned a page a little bit, actually.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like, I've been racing again, so I'm into racing, but like also, I don't know, like the EDR World Cup is doing so well.
Yeah.
The broadcasting from, the organization for the EDR stuff's good, but the independent media, I think, is again like what's kind of holding it up. So it's the age of the YouTube racer and people posting Instagram clips and taking POV. Like, everyone's got a camera on now.
Yeah, I'd really like to diversify our coverage too, just outside of making cool videos about anything and everything, to like focusing on that a little more.
Yeah.
But it's a whole nother beast. So
Yeah.
Maybe look out for that in the future. I think this docu-series is going to be really big for everyone too in Enduro.
I was like trying to pitch a docu-series like a couple years ago to people. It's like, yeah, there should be an Enduro docu-series. I think it'd be sick. But yeah, man, big stuff's happening.
Yep, big stuff is happening.
It's exciting.
Teddy, thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Thanks, Nick.
Thanks for making the trek down, and
Thanks,
we'll stay
Mike.
in touch.
Appreciate you.
We have a bunch of podcasts coming through the line here. We're making clips from them, so they're in a more digestible format. Just subscribe, keep your eye out, and enjoy.
Heck yeah. Go Recon.
Completely differently. So there's no right or wrong way. Camera just cut out.
Sizes to suit the rider preference.
How did that just happen?
Yeah, I mean, if you're down for me to ask questions about Recon, is that a thing that we can do?
Yeah.
Just kind of curious. So well.
Yeah.
And I'm stoked. Like, and for the World Cup stuff, well, it's like, yeah, there should be an Enduro docu-series. I think it'd be sick. But yeah, man.